She laughed. Try not to embarrass me while I'm gone. I told the girls you. So I took her advice literally and erased myself from the picture, packed my things, canceled our trip, and moved out. When she walked into the silence, she found a note saying, "No embarrassment. Problem solved." Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. The suitcase lay open on our bed like a promise. I'd been packing for an hour, a careful curator of our upcoming escape. 7 days in Belize. My phone was propped against the lamp, a checklist glowing on the screen. Swim trunks, check. Reef-safe sunscreen, check. The new novel she'd mentioned wanting to read, tucked in beside my own. I folded a linen shirt, the one she said made my eyes look bluer, and placed it neatly on top. This trip was my baby. I'd spent months researching, not the trendiest party spots, but the places with the quietest beaches, the most authentic food shacks, the snorkeling tour that treated the coral with respect. I'd saved a quarter of my salary for a year to make it perfect. Not just nice. Perfect. For us. The apartment smelled of lemon cleaner and anticipation. I'd spent the afternoon scrubbing it spotless so we'd return to a sanctuary, not chaos. A bottle of her favorite Sauvignon Blanc chilled in the fridge, 2 glasses waiting on the counter for our pre-flight toast tomorrow night. My heart felt like a buoyant, full thing in my chest. This was it. The reset button. The memory we'd point back to when life got cluttered. The key turned in the lock at 7:15 p.m. I smiled, ready to show her the packing progress, to share the quiet excitement. Maya breezed in, a cloud of expensive perfume and restless energy. She was already in her going-out uniform, a tight black dress that left little to imagination, heels that made her walk a precise, clicking cadence. Her makeup was artfully smoky, her hair tousled in that way that took 40 minutes to achieve. She was beautiful. She always was. But her eyes swept over me and the suitcase without landing. "Hey," I said, my voice warm. "You're home early. Big night with Sasha and Qley." "Pre-gaming at Qley's new place in the Heights," she said, dropping her clutch on the kitchen counter, right next to the clean glasses. She peered into the suitcase. "You're packing already? We don't leave for, 36 hours. I like to be prepared," I said, the first faint thread of defensiveness slipping into my tone. "Avoid the last-minute panic. Want to see the itinerary I finalized? I got us that private cabana for the full day at, sure. Later," she interrupted, scrolling through her phone. A quick, dismissive smile. "I trust you." That should have felt like a compliment. It felt like being handed a boring chore. I took a breath, pushing down the slight deflation. "Are you excited?" "For Belize." She looked up, her gaze finally meeting mine. It was assessing, as if seeing me for the first time that evening. There was no spark of shared joy in it. Just evaluation. "It'll be a vibe, I guess," she said with a shrug that made the straps of her dress slip. "A week of sun. Can't complain. A vibe, I guess." The words were little punctures in my buoyant heart. "You guess?" "Maya, we're staying in a treehouse suite. It's literally over the water. You said it was your dream." I know, she said, waving a hand, her bracelets jangling. "It'll be great. Just," she sighed, a sound heavy with unspoken burden. She walked over to her dresser, began rifling for a specific piece of jewelry. "Just what?" She didn't answer for a moment, her back to me. Then she turned, a silver necklace in her hand. "Look, while I'm gone this weekend with the girls, just try not to embarrass me, okay?" The air in the room changed. It became thin, sharp. "Embarrass you?" The words came out flat. "How would I embarrass you?" "You know," she said, her voice dipping into a conspiratorial tone that held no warmth. It was the tone she used to gossip about people, not with them. "Don't post any of those dorky, cooking videos you do. Or tag me in memes my friends won't get. Just be cool. Be invisible online." I told the girls they get it. The floor seemed to tilt slightly. I told the girls it wasn't a slip. It was a confession. A piece of her private ledger, shared aloud. I was a known quantity to Sasha and Qley, a slightly embarrassing one. A punchline that didn't need the setup explained. All the air left my lungs. The careful packing, the chilled wine, the pristine apartment, the treehouse over the water, it all crumbled into ash. It wasn't our dream trip. It was a concession she was making. A week she had to endure with her embarrassing boyfriend. What does that mean? Well, I asked. My voice was calm. Eerily, terrifyingly calm, even to me. She rolled her eyes, a practiced, perfected motion. God, don't be so sensitive. It's not a big deal. It's just that Sasha's boyfriend is a DJ with a real following. And Qley's new guy is literally a sign model. They're just on a different wavelength. They have a certain standard. I just need you to be chill. Don't try so hard. It's embarrassing when you try so hard. Each word was a precise, surgical cut. Don't try so hard. I thought of the spreadsheet of restaurant reviews I'd compiled for Belize. Embarrassing. I thought of the goofy dance I'd done in the kitchen last week when my song came on. A different wavelength. I saw myself through her eyes, suddenly. Not her partner, but a clumsy, eager-to-please child, constantly failing to meet the cool kid criteria. The last 5 years telescoped into this moment. The times I'd picked her up from parties early because she was tired while her friends stayed. The books I read versus the clubs they haunted. My reliable Honda next to their boyfriend's flashy, least Otis. I wasn't just me. I was a category. I looked at her, standing there, impatient to get to her real life. The one with people who had standards. The humming excitement in my chest was gone. In its place was a vast, silent emptiness. A crystal clear void. All the arguments, the pleas, the wounded explanations, they died before they were born. What was the point? You can't argue someone into respecting you. I simply nodded. Okay, I said. The single word stopped her. She was zipping her clutch, ready to leave, but my tone, devoid of hurt, devoid of fight, made her pause. She expected drama. She was braced for an argument she could win, for tears she could use as proof of my neediness to her friends later. Okay, she repeated, suspicion in her eyes. Okay, I confirmed, my voice flat and final. Have fun with the girls. The suspicion melted into a flicker of something else. Triumph, maybe. She'd laid down the law, and I'd complied. The embarrassing boyfriend was back in his box. Good, she said, the tight smile returning. She leaned in, gave me a perfunctory peck on the cheek, a cloud of perfume enveloping me. Don't wait up. And with a final click of her heels, she was gone. The lock turned, leaving me in the silent, spotless apartment I'd cleaned for us, next to the half-packed suitcase for the dream trip I'd built for us. The silence wasn't painful. It was illuminating. I looked at the suitcase. I looked at the wine glasses. I looked at the space where she had stood, delivering my sentence. Well, in the echoing quiet, something in me settled. Not broke. Settled. Like the final piece of a grim, undeniable puzzle clicking into place. I walked to the suitcase, placed the linen shirt inside, and closed the lid. Not to finish packing, but to begin unpacking everything. The click of the lock was a full stop. Not to an argument, but to an era. For a long time, I just stood there in the living room, listening to the new quality of the silence. It wasn't empty, it was cleansed. The static of her disdain had been a hum in the background of our life for so long I'd stopped hearing it. Now, with it gone, the air felt sharp and clear. Well, the phrase didn't sting anymore. It was a diagnosis. A final, accurate assessment from a disinterested party. I was me. And me had just spent a year saving, planning, and polishing a life for someone who was embarrassed by its very blueprint. I walked to the bedroom, my movements deliberate, not frantic. I opened the suitcase. Not to continue packing for Belize, but to begin the only trip that mattered now, the one out of this apartment and out of her life. I took the linen shirt, the novel, my swim trunks, and placed them back in my dresser. Then, I opened my closet. I didn't pull everything out in a furious heap. I started with the essentials. The suitcase that was meant for a dream vacation became a vessel for my liberation. Suits for work. The few quality sweaters I owned. My passport, my important documents from the fireproof lockbox. I worked with a calm, systematic rhythm. In the living room, I took down the framed photo from our hiking trip in Colorado, my smiling face squinting at the sun, her looking bored, I now realized. I placed it in a box. My books, the ones she called dense, filled another. My kitchen gadgets, the good chef's knife I bought, the French press she never used, wrapped neatly in tea towels. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I curated my own existence out of our shared space. With every item I packed, the apartment felt less like a home and more like a stage set from which I was quietly removing my props. The set for the play called Maya and Her Embarrassing Boyfriend was closing, effective immediately. Halfway through, I stopped. I took out my phone. I opened the airline app, found our reservations. 2 seats, 7A and 7B, tomorrow night. I selected cancel. The confirmation screen asked if I was sure. A non-refundable fare. A loss of nearly $1,500. My finger hovered for only a second. It was the cheapest price I'd ever pay for my self-respect. I tapped confirm. I did the same with the Treehouse Resort. Cancel reservation. The email confirmations hit my inbox with soft, final pings. I marked them as read and put the phone face down. By 2 a.m., the physical work was done. My car, parked in the underground garage, was packed to the roof with the tangible evidence of my life. All that remained in the apartment were the furniture we'd bought together. I didn't want it. The garish, abstract art she loved. It gave me a headache. And the chilling, pristine evidence of my planned devotion. I walked through the spaces one last time. The clean kitchen. The living room, now oddly asymmetrical without my books on the shelves. The bedroom, my side of the closet a yawning, empty mouth. On the bare, spotless kitchen counter, I placed 2 items. First, the single key to the apartment, off my ring. It looked small and insignificant. Next to it, a single sheet of printer paper, weighted down by the key. On it, written in my steady, unhurried handwriting, were just 5 words. No embarrassment. Problem solved. I didn't sign it. She would know who it was from. More importantly, she would know why it was from me. I took the bottle of Sauvignon Blanc from the fridge. I didn't pour it out. I left it there, full and cold, a monument to a toast that would never happen. Let her find it. Let her understand what she'd chosen to poison instead. I shouldered my laptop bag, took one final breath of the lemon-scented air, and walked out. I didn't look back. The door closed with a soft, definitive thud. I didn't lock it. That was her problem now. I drove to a 24-hour motel on the edge of the city. I paid in cash. I slept for 5 deep, dreamless hours. When I woke at dawn, the first thing I felt wasn't loss. It was the profound, unsettling lightness of a cut anchor. I turned my phone on. It buzzed once, a weather alert for Belize. Mostly sunny, 87 degrees Fahrenheit. I deleted the alert. Then I went into the settings and changed her contact name from Maya Red Heart to simply Maya. The heart was a relic from a man who no longer existed. The ghosting had begun. Her first text came at 10:17 a.m., a few hours after she'd presumably stumbled back in. Maya, 10:17 a.m. Hey. Where are you? Did you go for coffee? I imagined her, blurry-eyed, noticing the empty closet, the missing books. The first prickle of confusion. I didn't reply. The silence was my answer. The second text came 20 minutes later, the tone shifting. Maya, 10:39 a.m. Mark. Seriously, where's all your stuff? This isn't funny. I was sitting in a diner, eating eggs. I read the text, took a sip of coffee, and watched the rain streak down the window. The world outside was gray and moving on. I was moving on with it. The call started after noon. I let the first 2 go to voicemail. On the third, I listened, my face expressionless. Mark, pick up. What the hell is going on? Did you leave? Because of last night? God, you're so sensitive. It was a joke. Just call me back. We need to talk about Belize. The airline sent me a cancellation email. Did you do that? Call me. Her voice was a mix of anger and dawning panic. No apology. Just accusation and a demand to fix the inconvenience I'd caused. You're so sensitive. The refrain of the abuser. I deleted the voicemail. The texts became a torrent throughout the afternoon, cycling through the stages of her disbelief. Maya, 1:22 p.m. You canceled the trip? Are you insane? That was non-refundable. Maya, 2:45 p.m. Okay, I get it. You're mad. You're making a point. Fine. You've made it. Now can you please just come back so we can talk like adults? Maya, 4:11 p.m. The note. What does that even mean? Problem solved. I am not a problem. Maya, 5:30 p.m. Mark, I'm getting worried. Please just text me that you're okay. I was okay. More than okay. I was viewing a live broadcast of a bridge burning from a safe, peaceful distance. I blocked her number. The karma, as it always does, arrived not with a bang, but through the gossamer threads of the social web she valued above all else. 2 days after my disappearance, My old college friend, Ben, texted me. We weren't super close, but he was tangentially connected to Sasha. Ben, 8:04 p.m. dude. Are you and Maya okay? Sasha's group chat is apparently going nuclear. Me, 8:15 p.m. we're not together anymore. Ben, 8:15 p.m. no shit. The way she's telling it, you had a mental break and ghosted her. But Qley's cousin is in my gym class. He said Maya's been telling her friends for months you were cringy and she was planning to upgrade after one last vacation. Now the girls are saying that cringy guy ghosting her with a note is the most powerful thing anyone's ever done in their circle. It's a whole thing. I almost smiled. The narrative had flipped. I wasn't the embarrassing boyfriend who left. I was the enigmatic ghost who had judged her and found her wanting. In her world of perception, my complete and utter indifference was the ultimate power move. Her cruelty was now just pathetic foresight. A week later, a new number popped up on my screen. A voicemail followed immediately. It was Maya, her voice thick with tears that sounded real, but were, I knew, for an audience of one, herself. Mark, it's me. Please. I need you to hear me. The girls, Sasha and Qley, they're being awful. They're not taking my side. They keep asking what I did to make you leave like that. They keep talking about your note like it's some kind of legendary burn. They're saying I must have been a monster. My own friends, Mark, this is ruining me. My reputation is, you need to come back. Or at least talk to them. Tell them it wasn't that bad. Tell them I'm not a bitch. Please, you have to fix this. You can't just do this to me and leave me to deal with it alone. There it was. The core of her. Not I miss you. Not, I was horrible. I see that now. It was, this is ruining me. Fix my social standing. Her distress wasn't over the loss of us, but over the collapse of her carefully constructed image. She wasn't heartbroken. She was publicly embarrassed. The very thing she'd feared I would do to her, I'd done by simply removing myself. The irony was perfect. I listened to the message twice. The first time, to understand her point of view. The second time, to feel nothing. And I did. It was like listening to a stranger, poorly acted monologue. I didn't block the new number. Let her waste her energy. Let her see the texts delivered and ignored. Let her marinate in the absolute, deafening silence that was now my reply to her entire existence. The ghost wasn't haunting her. The ghost was simply gone. And in the void I left behind, she was finally, truly, seeing herself. And the reflection was destroying her. The attempts evolved, as desperation always does, from pleas to negotiation to ugly truth. First, her sister, Lauren, called. Her voice was a brittle mix of concern and accusation. Mark, come on. This is ridiculous. She's a mess. Just talk to her. Let her apologize properly. I was at my new apartment, assembling a bookshelf. Lauren, I said, my voice even. This is between me and Maya. It's over. Please don't call about this again. But you're hurting her, she insisted, the family loyalty overriding sense. No, I corrected gently, sliding a shelf into place. She hurt herself. I just stopped watching. Goodbye, Lauren. I ended the call and blocked her number 2. The circle of silence was expanding. Then came the nice phase broadcast from another new number. Long, rambling paragraphs that spoke of therapy and epiphanies. I see now how I used you to feel better about myself. I was the insecure one. I was the embarrassing one. It was a better script, lifted from a pop psychology article, but it still ended with a demand. I need to see you. To look you in the eye and say this. I didn't respond. The silence was my final word on the matter. The anger returned, fiercer. You're a coward. You're punishing me because you're too weak to have a real conversation. You think you're so cool now? You're just a bitter, pathetic little man who can't handle a little honesty. I read that one while sipping a beer on my new, small balcony, watching the city lights wink on. A little honesty. Yes, she'd finally given me that. And I'd acted on it with a clarity that now seemed to terrify her. I didn't feel bitter. I felt bored. Her words were like flies buzzing against glass, annoying, but powerless to reach me. The summons to the wedding of our mutual friends, Jamie and Amir, arrived like a formal invitation to a test I'd already passed. A part of me wanted to decline, to make my absence the final, lasting statement. But that would have meant she still had power, the power to make me avoid a place I might want to be. So I RSVP'd yes. For me. For Jamie and Amir. Not for her. The wedding was at a modern art gallery, all concrete and soaring glass. I wore a simple, well-tailored navy suit. No date. I came as I was now, a complete unit. I mingled, laughed genuinely with old friends who cautiously asked how I was. Really well, thanks, I'd say, and my calmness made it undeniably true. I could feel the curious glances, the whispered updates. That's him, the one who left the note. I saw her during the cocktail hour. She was with Sasha and Qley, but the dynamic was fractured. She looked beautiful, a desperate, polished beauty, but her eyes were scanning the room like a hawk. When they landed on me, they froze. She said something sharp to Sasha, who just shrugged and turned to talk to someone else. The confrontation happened in the curated silence of a secondary gallery, a room of haunting black and white photographs. She appeared beside me as I pretended to study a print of a lonely pier. Mark, I turned. Maya, you look nice. The formality disarmed her. She'd prepared for anger, for coldness, maybe for tears. Not for polite, distant courtesy. You look different, she said, her eyes drinking in the ease with which I stood there. Do I? Can we talk? For 5 minutes. Please. The please was ground glass in her throat. I glanced at my watch, a simple gesture of a busy man. Of course. We moved to a quiet alcove. She launched in, her words rehearsed but trembling with genuine, self-interested fear. I've been in therapy. For real. 8 weeks now. She searched my face for impact, found none. I realize how horrible I was. I used you as a punching bag to make me feel bigger in front of them. It was pathetic. I was the embarrassing one. She was parroting her own text, hoping the live performance would land. I said nothing, just listened, my hands in my pockets, my posture relaxed. That note, she continued, a tear expertly brimming. It broke me, but it also woke me up. What you did, it was so cold, so final, but I deserved it. I see that now. She paused, waiting for my absolution. For me to say, it's okay, I forgive you, let's talk. I let the silence hang in the air between us, a third, uninvited guest. Then I spoke, my voice low, calm, and utterly devoid of the past. I'm glad you're getting clarity, Maya. She leaned in, hope flickering. For what it's worth, I continued, taking your advice that night was the best decision I've ever made. She blinked. My advice? Yes. Try not to embarrass me. Don't try so hard. You were right. I was trying too hard. For the wrong person. So I stopped trying. With you. I took your advice literally. And it solved the problem. For both of us. The color drained from her face. This wasn't forgiveness. This wasn't even blame. It was a cold, factual report. Her cruelty hadn't broken my heart. It had been operational feedback I'd acted on with devastating efficiency. I was thanking her for it. So that's it, she whispered, the mask cracking, revealing the raw entitlement beneath. After everything? After 5 years? I pour my heart out, and you give me a business analysis? I'm stating facts, I said, my tone still even. You wanted less of me. You got none of me. The math is very simple. I looked over her shoulder, saw Jamie waving me toward the dining hall. I truly hope you find what you're looking for, Maya. Excuse me. I promised Jamie I'd grab a seat at their table. I didn't wait for a reply. I just gave her a final, small, polite nod, the kind you give a vague acquaintance whose name you've just remembered, and walked away. I felt her stare on my back, a heatless laser of utter defeat. I didn't look back. At the table, surrounded by laughter and the clink of glasses, I felt a deep, solid peace. The final seal had been set. There was no anger left to purge, no sadness to mourn. There was only the present, bright and unencumbered. My phone buzzed in my pocket once during the best man's speech. Later, when I stepped outside for air, I checked it. Unknown number, 9:18 p.m. IC. I'm really nothing to you now, am I? It was the last, whining gasp of the ego I'd once mistaken for a heart. A question that begged for a final scrap of emotional attention, even if it was negative. I looked at the text. I felt nothing. Not victory, not pity, not even annoyance. I didn't block the number. I simply swiped the notification away. I didn't type a response. I didn't need to. The absolute, unwavering silence of the last few months was the only answer that mattered, and it had already been delivered. I never saw or spoke to Maya again. Sometimes, through the old, Tangled vines of mutual connections, I'd hear things. She'd moved cities. She'd started and quit another job. She was dating someone new, a guy in a band, someone said, who was just as performative as she was. It was all just noise, the distant traffic of a life I was no longer on the road to. The note, I learned, had achieved a minor, mythic status in that old social circle. It was shorthand for a clean break. Did you hear about Sarah and Tim? Total no embarrassment, problem-solved situation. I found this darkly amusing. My moment of pure, private dignity had become their public idiom. 6 months after the wedding, I met someone. Lena. She was a landscape architect. On our third date, over pizza, I told her the story, not with bitterness, but as a simple part of my history, like explaining an old scar. She listened, her head tilted. When I finished, she didn't offer pity. She just said, her loss. And her phrasing was terrible. Well, you. What does that even mean? You're just you. Which seems pretty great to me. She got it. She got me. Tonight, I'm cooking in my apartment. My own apartment, with my books on the shelves, my chosen art on the walls, mostly maps and old engineering blueprints. Lena is on the balcony, repotting a fern she rescued. Bach plays softly from a speaker. The sun is setting, painting the room in warm gold. My phone, charging on the counter, lights up. A single notification. Maya, 7:02 p.m. I'm in town for a night. Staying at the Chancellor. I know I don't deserve it, but I'd give anything for 15 minutes. Just to see you. For closure. I stare at the message. The name Maya is like a relic from a museum, a label under a glass case containing a version of myself I no longer recognize. I feel no surge of anything. Not anger, not nostalgia, not power. Just a mild, distant curiosity, like seeing an old, incorrect weather report. Lena walks in, her hands dirty with soil. Smells amazing. What's that look for? Nothing important, I say, and I mean it. I pick up the phone. I don't block the number. I don't craft a crushing final reply. I simply delete the message. Then I turn the phone face down, walk over to Lena, and kiss her temple. Just spam. Dinner's ready. And it is. Thanks for watching.